congratulations to the Tennessee Titans. They hired the Bengals offensive coordinator,
And
Brian Callahan. What are your initial reactions? This happened while we were recording the last podcast. Do you like this move since he's been with the Bengals, can learn under Zach Taylor and build a new offensive there, or are you a little bit concerned with this hire?
I think it's a good hire. I like that they're moving in the offensive mindset. This is the thing. I think it's going to benefit Will Levis or whoever they decide to take over at quarterback. And I think it's a good opportunity. Brian Callahan, yes, he had Joe Burrow for a good chunk of his time as the OC, but you showed what he could do with Jake Browning. And Jake Browning was able to elevate his game under this system. And the Bengals have been one of the most efficient offenses over the last several years. So, we apply that to Tennessee now, where you have Will Levis, where he's had flashes where you can see the it factor there. You think that he can be pretty good. And now, really, it's like, can we get them talent? He's going to trade Derrick Henry, and then we'll see what they do with D Hop. But they can, kind of similar to the Raiders, he can
Yeah.
start from the ground up, rebolster that offense, and get some nice talent there. So I like the hire. I think it's going to be a good hire for him. And now it's interesting to see what their next steps are from here.
Yeah, you know what the interesting thing about this hire is what were the Bengals always trying to compensate for? What were they trying to always like work around? Like, how can we get past this blemish on our team, which was really our major hole, which was the offensive line position. And the Bengals seemed like they were always undermanned at the offensive line, whether it was for their five starters being hurt in the conference championship last year, whether it's them just not being really that good versus the Kansas City Chiefs the first time they played them. That was always their weakness. And then you look at Tennessee. What is the major glaring hole on that team? What unit was the worst in the league out of any other team last year? Was the offensive line, was players getting beat up there. So he's going to bring some of that offense he did with Samaje Perine, with Hayden Hurst, with getting the ball out quickly, making Will Levis's life a little bit easier. And then he's going to also have that Bengals model where we have a pretty good defense. I'm going to make sure I get a really good defensive coordinator around me to patch up that side of the field. But what I do know we need is really good receivers just to take the pressure off of Will Levis here. He's seen the Bengals take T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd. Maybe he can even take T. Higgins with him to Tennessee, and that could be a really underrated signing there. But I think just with the way he's had to kind of work around the Bengals offensive line and that being the Titans struggle, I think that's a major player there. And then just get the guy some receivers and let's see what we can do.
Yeah, and I think that they have an okay tight end in a Conquo, but and you will see what they have with Tajay Spears, the running back. But honestly, like Traylon Burks hasn't really worked out for them so far. I see them getting one of those receivers in the draft, and then if they can sign somebody, even if it's not to the Higgins caliber, even
Yeah.
if it's just a solid receiver that just gives them some depth, then I think that's going to benefit them greatly. The issue with them last year was their offensive line, was the receivers not stepping up and not getting the ball to D Hop enough. So I think that they have a good opportunity. They're going to be a couple of years out. It's going to be a rebuild, but I think they're in the right path now. If you're going to move on from someone like Mike Vrabel, who's a defensive head coach, getting an offensive coordinator who's been in these situations with Joe Burrow in the Bengals in
Yeah.
those playoff games around the talent that he's been around, I think that that's a plus for the Titans.